Congratulations on being newly listed on the CSE.
Thank you to all our viewers that are tuning back into another newly listed on the CSE clip. Today, I'm talking to Christopher Ecclestone. Christopher is the CEO of Molten Metals Corp, listed on the Canadian Securities Exchange under the symbol MOLT. Christopher, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. I hope you're well.
I'm very well, thanks.
Excellent. So I'm actually curious myself. Why don't we start with a brief introduction to Molten Metals? What is the vision of this company?
The vision can be summed up in our motto, which is adding critical mass to strategic metals. We're focusing in the initial phases on antimony and tin. Both of these are metals used in the battery world, but used, they're not the household metals like lithium and cobalt, but they play important roles. Antimony in new technologies in the space, such as molten salt batteries, which are used for mass storage. And tin is used in a myriad of functions. Rio Tinto have actually classified tin as the technology metal because it's used in the most technologies. So you can look at some rare earths and they only have limited applications, but tin has applications right across the board in all sorts of technologies. And part of that is because tin is in solders, and it goes thus into microchips, and microchips are used everywhere. So it's not difficult to see why tin is so crucial. But both of the metals are crucial. They're both relatively small markets. And in the case of antimony, the Chinese have had a stranglehold on the metal for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
It is the original Chinese-dominated metal. In fact, going back to the largest mine that they have in China now, the largest mine in the world, goes back to 1500, and it's still operating.
Antimony and tin, as you mentioned, I appreciate you giving us a little breakdown on why these two are such important and critical elements when it comes to batteries and other industrial uses. Now, your focus is in Canada as well as Slovakia, is that correct?
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about these projects. How did you pick these regions?
Well, Slovakia has been, up until the mid-90s, the largest producer of antimony in Europe. Other countries have had periods when they've been the largest user, but up until then, which was really the closure of the European antimony production, Slovakia was it. It had a number of mines. The largest mine in Europe was not actually in Slovakia, but in Spain. But combined, the production in Slovakia was the biggest. And it goes back hundreds of years also, back to the days of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And in Canada, our asset, Westgore in Nova Scotia, was the largest antimony mine in Canada, right up until the First World War, when it was a key part of the war effort, because one of the usages of antimony, which I have not mentioned so far, is its role in the production of ammunition. And traditionally, up until like the 1970s, when a major new usage came along, antimony was really known for being alloyed with lead in bullets and other forms of ammunition. So traditionally, its production and its pricing spiked during wars. So if you look at a chart of antimony, a long-term chart, you'll see First World War, up it went. Second World War, up it went. Korean War, up it went. So the Westgore mine was in its heyday during the First World War.
Now, Chris, what was your strategy behind going public at this time?
There hasn't been a primary focused antimony play in the public markets for many, many decades. There is one in the US, but it mainly owns a roaster, and so it's more of a processor of antimony than a miner. Our goal is to be miners of the product and add to the non-Chinese supply of the metal, because up until now, China's dominated production and the mining. Over the last few years, though, Chinese production of the mineral from its mines has been going down because some of these mines, as I mentioned, are very, very old. And also China's been reducing the number of polluting mines that they've had. So China is increasingly relied upon imported artisanal production from places like Laos, Burma, Honduras, Bolivia, which is largely produced by artisanal miners. So the West has been short of professionally produced antimony. There is one Canadian company that is actually the largest non-Chinese producer, but it produces the antimony from a mine in Australia as a byproduct of their gold production. In our case, we're going to be looking to produce primary antimony.
You know, you've actually answered my next question, because I was going to ask, how do you differ from some of the other companies within this space? And you've covered that quite well there.
The secret is there are none, or there are so few that that they don't really count. You know, the problem is that China still dominates 90% plus of the global processing, and probably like 60% of the production from mines. And that means that they have a stranglehold on the metal. And this has particularly produced some sort of panic in the US, because it's long been ignored the role of antimony in defense applications. And as long as the product was rolling in and that there was not a situation of tensions with China, well, why bother? Why not just buy the Chinese product? Now there is a great deal of concern in the US about this dependence of the US military machine and basically everybody else's military machine upon Chinese-sourced antimony.
Well said, and that positions you and your team in a great way. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your background, Christopher. How did you get into this space?
I'm a mining analyst, investment banker, and have been for a very long time. 10 years ago, I decided to focus on antimony as a theme that no one else was really looking at. And I've sort of grown to become the sort of like the guru of antimony in the absence of anybody else. And so I know where all the bodies are buried. And this is key because, frankly, we're not interested in greenfields exploration. We don't feel that we need to find unfound antimony deposits. We are only interested in old producing mines. And there are a lot of them because basically in the 1980s, the Chinese sort of sabotaged the price of antimony so that they could take the production away from the West, and it worked. Mines across Eastern Europe, in Italy, Spain, Latin America, Australia, everywhere they shut down because basically the prices were unviable. And then the Chinese moved in and had this massive sort of takeover of the space, which has worked for them. But it didn't work for anybody else really, except for the end users in the West who got cheap antimony, but at the price that they lost resource independence and have become very dependent on Chinese sources now. So everybody's pushing back against that now because of this concern about China dominance in strategic metals.
Yeah.
And so we plan to work on that.
Now, you know, obviously the success to any project and company is the team that you surround yourself with. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of your key team members that you've added?
Well, our COO is Lara Smith. She's a South African, and her history comes from trading. So I think you can see a tendency there that unlike other companies that are sort of geologically led, our company is led by the metal, and it's led by the sources of production and the usages of the metal and the end users of the metal. So we're more focused at the moment about how we're going to get off-takers for our product than doing endless drilling to produce resources because we know that the metal is in these mines. It's there, the historic resources on the mines. We don't need to garnish them in any way. The resources are there. So our strategy is to get them out of the ground and get them on the way to the market while the prices are very attractive at the moment. And the price is likely to stay attractive because there's a secular decline in production out of China. And frankly, the artisanals can't match it and can't meet that demand. So there is a need for serious reactivation of mining of antimony outside China, because the Chinese can't even meet the demand out of themselves.
Yeah. Now, I've seen your recent news release about the new addition, Slovak Antimony Corp, which is based out of Slovakia. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and break that down for our viewers?
Well, Slovakia, as I said before, was the largest producer in Europe. And with the fall of the wall in 1989, the Czechoslovak Republic, as it was then, was set free out of the Soviet bloc. And that country had been dedicated to producing antimony for the rest of the Eastern Bloc. With the bloc gone, and with a hard look being placed upon, loss-making activities, and at that time, antimony was trading at $2,000 or $3,000 a ton, which is less than a quarter of where it is now. The authorities there said, "Look, we can't afford to be operating mines that are uneconomic at these prices," and so they shut them down. Took a few years, but by 1993, 94, they were all shut. Then, of course, Slovakia did its split from the Czech Republic, and they both went their own ways. But these deposits were then largely forgotten. They weren't forgotten by me. And so we just waited our moment. And now that the antimony price is way more attractive, it has had brief other periods of attractiveness, but like 2012, when the price soared, that's when the Chinese first signaled that they had production problems. Now the price is at $13,600 per ton, which is a fantastic price. And so it's a great moment to be reactivating in the space. But, we don't want to spend 5 years drilling and then maybe thinking about production. The high prices now, we want to get them. Simple as that.
Now, obviously, that was news that recently was put out. Are there any other milestones you're able to talk about that our viewers can look out for?
We have various applications in for other territories because, as I said, I know where the bodies are buried. So I can't tell you where the bodies are buried, but we know and we want to get our hands on them before anyone else. So we're making various applications. We're not interested in buying assets off other people. That's a mug's game. We want to pick them up while nobody else is looking at them by basically staking them. And no one's shown any interest in antimony so far, and I'm very happy with that. I'm very happy.
Excellent. Chris, where can our viewers go to find out more about you, your team, the company, and what you guys are working on and keep up with your press releases?
Yeah, if they go to moltenmetalscorp.com, they will see everything on our website, including various documents that I've written in the past about these molten salt battery phenomenon, which is actually a new technology. It's hardly impacting on demand at the moment. But if it does become big, like vanadium redox batteries are big in mass storage, it would provide an enormous new source of demand for the metal that frankly can't be supplied by current production. So there's documents on that. There's documents on the dynamics of antimony production and pricing and the history, because when it comes down to it, antimony's been around since the days of the ancient Egyptians. And they used it for a makeup of all things. So there you go. Antimony is one of the oldest metals that has been in use in the world, and probably in the Canadian equity markets, it's one of the least known.
I did read that on your press release about how the Egyptians were using it in makeup and other applications. Yeah. I appreciate you taking the time, because you've obviously educated myself on this critical element. I encourage all of our viewers, if you are interested, please do go to the website, have a look, read up on the team, read up on the metal, their press release. If you have any questions, I encourage you to reach out to Christopher and his team via their website. Here at the CSE, we wish you and your team nothing but success as you move forward in this landscape. We look forward to hosting you on soon to talk a little bit more about the successes in the coming months. And to everybody watching, you've been hearing from Christopher Ecclestone. He is the CEO of Molten Metals Corp, and he is talking to us about antimony and its vast uses.
Thank you very much.